We are still with you in the Oracle Database Architecture course. In the previous video, we talked about select statement processing. In this video, we will talk about DML statement processing. These are the insert, update, and delete operations. We will talk about several points, the most important of which are 1. Undo and redo data. 2. Committed and rollback. 3. System change number. We learned in the previous video that when a user wants to connect to the database, he first connects to the listener. The listener connects to the Oracle instance and creates a server process. After verifying the connection, a session is opened directly between the server process and the user process. Let's assume that the user requested to make a modification to the employee table. Update employee set salary equals 4,000, where employee ID equals 18. The statement is sent to the server process. The server process creates what is called SQL area in the library cache. Then a parse is done. We talked about the steps of parse in the previous video, select statement processing. When execute the update statement, the server process brings the block to be modified from the data file to the data buffer cache. Of course, the data is brought from the data file to the data buffer cache in the form of a block. But before modifying this block, the old and new values are written in the redo log buffer. The redo log format is as follows: employee ID equals 18, and old salary 3,000. And new salary 4,000. The old value is written in the undo block. We will talk later about the undo table space. But you should know here that the undo is a place where the old data is saved before modifying it until the modifications are committed. So the value 3,000 is saved in the undo. After that, the salary value in the buffer cache is modified from 3,000 to 4,000. The server process sends a message to the user that the modification has been made. Lock is made for this row so that no one can see the new value unless a commit is made. If any other user inquires about this value, the old value will be returned to him from the undo table space. But if another user wants to update or delete this row, he cannot do so until the current user commits or rollbacks. Now the user has two options, either to commit or rollback. If he does a rollback, the modification is undone. The old value is returned from undo to the buffer cache. We do not need to make any changes to the redo buffer cache. The server process sends a message to the user that the rollback was successful. But if the user commits, a new system change number is created. All data in the redo log buffer is written to the redo log file. Even the data of other users that has not been committed. That is, the redo log buffer is cleaned. The lock on the row is removed so that other users can access the new data. Now the modifications are permanent and the system change number is recorded in this block. Now the old value in the undo can be rewritten, but it is not necessary now to write the block after modifying it in the buffer cache to the data file directly. This is because the database writer process is not related to the commit process, and also the log writer process is always faster than the database writer process. It should be noted that the data in the log buffer is the changes that occur, and is in the form of records, while the data in the buffer cache is blocks and depends on the size of the block in the database. The block is referred to in the buffer cache as a dirty block. Yes, it can be written to the data file when database writer occurs. Database writer is usually done when checkpoint is done or when the buffer is full. But there is no connection between commit and database writer. It should also be noted that undo data is created when update and delete are done, but we do not need to create undo data when insert is done. We can summarize the video in that when execute update statement, SQL area is created in the library cache. Then a parse is done for the update statement. Then an execute is done. When execute is done, the block to be modified is brought from the data file to the buffer cache. Undo data is created with the old value. The changes are recorded in the redo log buffer, the old and new values. The modification is done in the buffer cache. Lock is created for the modified row. Message is sent to the user that the modification has been made. When commit is done, a system change number is created. All changes in the log buffer are written to the log file. The lock on the row is removed after saving the changes. The undo data can be rewritten. Message is sent to the user that a commit has been made. This is what happens in the database when a DML statement is executed. We will meet in the next video.